Hey, it actually worked this time. So I'm using the quick capture feature, which I don't usually use. And this is the episode, we're on 6, right? Yeah, TUF 9, episode 6 review. 2 more fights. And we start off with, they get to the fight announcement pretty quick. It's going to be Martin Stapleton versus Cameron Dollar. Was looking forward to see Cameron Dollar get beat down, because every time he's on screen I dislike him more and more. His stand-up looks god-awful. You see it with both in the fight itself, although he does land a big punch, but I'll get to the fight in a second, and in his sparring with Frank Lester. Both times his stand-up looks terrible. His wrestling is actually pretty impressive, and his ground game's pretty good. But I don't like Cameron's chances if he's ever out-wrestled. That's pretty much it. Anyone with better wrestling should probably beat this kid, and that's not really a good thing. As for the fight itself, come out with a brief stand-up trade. Stapleton gets nailed. It looks actually in the back of the head, but I'm not going to harp on that. It happens. Referee can't get everything. It just appears to be a little bit, maybe the back of the head. And Dollar tries to get a takedown. Not Dollar. Stapleton tries to get a takedown. Dollar gets plumped on his ass. Gets back up. Executes a very, very nice hip toss or throw. I think it was more of a hip toss, but this open debate. And then he mounts him and gets back, and submission by rear naked choke. Disappointing effort. Disappointing for me, because I thought, when I think about it, Stapleton is the kind of guy that, although he's not UFC ready, I think he could be very easily with the proper camp. I think it's more just a matter of the British camps are a little bit behind the American camps, and with the correct instruction, he would have been a guy to look out for. He works with the Royal Marines, enough said. Whereas Cameron Dollar, I kind of get, he's too easily mentally scared. He seems to really not follow direction on stand-up very well. His ground game seems pretty good. His wrestling seems pretty good. And he does seem to have actually a fair amount of heart and toughness. I just find him to be a douchebag as a person. And I still think he isn't. He's not a fighter who's going to get into the UFC and do a lot. Put it that way. Actually, I kind of feel that way about the entire lightweight cast of Team USA, though. So I suppose it's not saying much. Then we get into some more house stuff. Frank Lester apparently really not liking James Wilkes. He seems a little crazy, Frank Lester. Anyways, Frank Lester versus James Wilkes, the US picks. Frank is supposed to be the better striker. If you watch the fight, you don't really get that opinion. And Wilkes is a BJJ guy. Of course, he trains under Eric Paulson, so you know he's got leg locks out the wazoo. Lester makes, I think, a stupid thing. He underestimates his opponent. He says James Wilkes is a pansy on the stand-up. I don't really understand where they got that from, because if you look at his fights, he does pretty well. He's got stand-up. He doesn't look good against Che Mills, but Che Mills, if you haven't seen him fight and you're judging him off of that prelim fight he had for The Ultimate Fighter, is a very good stand-up artist. He's very, like, he was one of the better welterweights they brought. Like, kind of, both of these guys, their teams probably would have been better off had they lost their prelim fights. Frank Lester, Kyle Reed, and James Wilkes to Che Mills. But they won, kind of like Cameron Dollar and Tom Hayden. The U.S. team would probably have been better off with Tom Hayden on it, not Cameron Dollar. But it is what it is. Anyways, the first round, Lester gets a bit of the better of the stand-up. He lands a couple of good shots, rocks Wilkes a little bit, but Wilkes pretty much works him when it does hit the ground. And Wilkes hits a knee near the end of the round, which apparently knocks out a tooth, or more than one tooth, into Frank Lester's mouth guard. Frank Lester is not good at following instructions from the corner. We kind of figure that out a little bit. This may go over the fact that he's just kind of an odd dude, which I can respect, but you gotta tone it down sometimes. James Wilkes Gets him down again in the second round. Or, no, I suppose they could go over the hoopla in the middle of the round. Bisping was pissed off because Frank got extra time while they were retrieving a tooth from his mouth guard. Apparently the mouth guard didn't fit properly without it, which that's a safety issue. And I think Bisping was being a bit of a prick. Mind you, he may not have known, and that's the thing. I think, they probably should have communicated that to the British corner, because it seems like even after the fight, he still didn't really know what was going on. Like, he was aware that Frank had lost a tooth, but I don't think he was aware that it was, like, in the mouth guard. And was not able to fit properly. Anyway, second round, hits the ground again. Wilkes gets an arm bar. Doesn't look like a great arm bar, and Lester taps. Maybe he was tighter than it looked. This is always possible. Or maybe Lester had gotten tired or something. 3-2 UK. Oh yeah, and Bisping's reason for missing the Dean Amasinger fight was that he had fallen asleep and was basically dead to the world. That's a pretty weak excuse, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. Oh, answer to the skill testing question I posed at the last video, answered correctly by Roscoe. The first 5 British fighters to fight in the UFC were indeed Ian Freeman, and then on the same card, James Zikic, Lee Remedios, and Mark Weir debuted, and then Lee Murray was the 5th one. And Divine Massacre, shame on you for putting Bisping down, because Ross Poynton fought before Bisping. Remember that, on both the Ultimate Fighter and in the UFC, because it was earlier in the TUF finale card. So shame. What else is there? Okay, next week, apparently the #1 fighter for the UK fights. Kind of guessing that's probably Ross Pearson or Jeff Lawson, which is guaranteed that one of them will fight, because it's a lightweight fight next, and those are the 2 lightweights left. So I guess we'll see who the Brits think are the best fighter. Jeff Lawson's certainly their most accomplished fighter, and I've been having a hard time ranking their lightweights, because their lightweights are all in kind of the same ballpark. Like, in elements you can rank, Lawson is the best ground fighter. Martin Stapleton had the best stand-up. Martin Stapleton probably had the best conditioning, apparently the best wrestling, although I thought Ross Pearson's looked a little bit better. Ross Pearson's the most tenaciously aggressive. Andre has the fastest hands. I think Andre is basically the one that may have the most potential, because he seems to be picking up wrestling very quick, and he's got very, very quick hands. So with the proper tutelage, he's going to be a dangerous fighter, I think. What else next week? That seems to be about it. Apparently, one of the Brits gets hit in the head with a hammer by themselves. That's going to be interesting to watch. And Richie Winston apparently is accused of having herpes. Apparently, he claims it's not herpes. Infections are not a fun thing. Not a fun thing at all. Speaking as a man who's had staph. Anyways, that's all I really got to say. I'm disappointed Cameron went through, because I think he's utterly a douchebag. But that's me. So, look forward to you next week. And I don't have a skill testing question this time around. Alright, so later.